The Master MM731 is the wireless version of the MM730, and good news, while it had some performance issues early on, it looks like the new firmware has fixed them. In this 1000 FPS test, I tried to see the difference between the firmware versions. Unfortunately, it's too close to call. That said, it does seem to feel better in game, so maybe we can tell the difference that can't be shown on cameras at times. Who knows? Either way, was happy using it after the firmware update. The performance seems good. And the same is true for the wired copies. Is this mouse for you though? That's going to depend on whether you like this shape. It's kind of in the same school of thought as the Death Adder or Microsoft IntelliMouse, but smaller and a little more exaggerated on the curves. That actually makes it less safe, but potentially more comfortable. If you're someone who wants this extra width to rest your little finger on the back, or toward the front with your ring finger, or even if you like 131 grip, then this can work. The curvature slopes toward the side buttons on the left, which isn't ideal as you can slip. The matte plastic texture does help keep it in hand, but generally I think these walls are better when straighter. I guess they intend to keep the thumb raised a little bit. It's okay though, feels fine. The front of the mouse on both sides has the angle I like, but the little finger would be resting on a slope that's angled inward toward the top, so wider at the base, thinner at the top. It can work, but maybe it would work a bit better with a different curve. Depends what you like though. It did feel okay while using it. I just think it might be a little too pronounced for a fair few people. That said, I've definitely seen people say they like this kind of shape, so this mouse is for them. The sensor position is also quite forward, which a few people also ask for. Now they're the same shell, so these dimensions are for both wired and wireless. The grip width is about 5.9, that's where I'd grip it, but maybe 5.7 where it's intended to be gripped. The length is about 12 centimeters, and the height is about 3.9, button height of about 2.17. So it's a bit harder to get the recommendations for this, because it can't be just by dimensions. It really depends where you hold it, but I would say palm grip for hands under 18 centimeters, claw grip between 17.5 and 20.5, and fingertip between 18.5 and 20.5. Here it is next to some other mice for a general idea of the size. I'd say it's between these two, so I'd say it's medium. You can't see the holes, but there are some holes on the base, as you can kind of see by the indentation. And they've kept the weight down at about 51 grams. That's on the wired and with a bit of cable. Could be 48 as they claim, and about 58 on the wireless. So these mice are extremely light. They've done really well to get the weights down that much and still not have holes on top. Very impressive. And now here's a button sound check. It's using optical switches, so there's that hollow sound on left and right. It's actually not too bad though. They've got it pretty close to a normal mouse click. If you're spamming those a lot, maybe it's something to consider, but I didn't even think about it in game. The wheel is hard to click in, doesn't have much travel either, but the scrolling is quite nice. Good steps and still mostly quiet. And side buttons are a tiny bit awkward. I guess it depends on where you grip it, but otherwise a nice click. Low travel on them. The cables are pretty thick, but they're quite flexible, even on the wireless. And no issues in a bungee. Large feet on the base, a little scratchy, that may wear in over time, but my copies don't seem too good. Other features, it has Bluetooth, they include the adapter, so you can use the receiver on your desk and then just plug it in to recharge. And there's software, usual features, so just a quick look here. So DPI, colors, usual options, and you can bind the buttons if you want. We've been over this software a few times in the past. So moving on to the conclusion, with the updates, seems like they've got the wireless in a good place. Felt good in game, had some fun with it, but as usual with mouse choice these days, I think it's going to be down to the shape. Do you like this shape? Well, it's got a lot of really good features. Don't like the shape? Those features won't matter. And you'll need to find something else. It's not one of my favorites for aim, but the mice I use have a very different grip. This one is more relaxed. The wide ergonomic shape could be good for people who struggle with the mostly asymmetrical mice I recommend, so this could be for them. Hope that explanation helps. Usual links below. Thanks to Cooler Master for sending these out, and also for continuing to work on the firmware. Great to see that they care about getting things right. You could argue they should have got it right first, and yeah, fair point, but they weren't aware of the issues at first, so it's good that they're fixing them now. I figure as long as companies don't stop trying to get things right, it's okay to make mistakes. We are all human, even the people at the companies. If you have the MM731, make sure you update the firmware. So just download the latest software and it should prompt you. And yeah, that's it. Subscribe, like and share, and I'll catch you in the next.